Chapter 1. The revelation of Aizah's revealing of what is the true need to the messenger. With the names of Aizah, the sufficient creator, the essence of essentiality, the master of materiality, the producer, and the all that really is, we recite. On the first day for humankind, the community of Adam and Eve were spoken to by the Lord. It explained to them that all of the things that are truly needed by man, pertaining to its essence through which it produces countless forms of its provisions, was placed in the Garden of Earth Eden, spread throughout. But there were also things that they were told to eschew of evil, which was symbolized as a tree that was established by the Lord itself at the center of Eden. Things leading to perdition that were grown in the manner of a tree that was abundantly full of fruits, which, if eaten, would give mankind sensations in desire for the lesser things of life it wants, that comes to them without absolute needs for them. Things that would truly burden them with causes for questions and decisions concerning life. The questions which they would initially have no thirst in interests, but questions and decisions which they would then feel the thirst in need to ask and have answered. Hearing clearly and yet ignoring the Lord El, they answered yes to the persuasions of the fallen seraph, who had become symbolized as being a serpent, or a Ser-Af, pent, down in hell by the hand of the Almighty Lord Christ Iya, El Amen Asa Re Aleph. But of this symbol, it is a representation of all angels from the seraph of the Most High to the devil who is most low. For the angels of the Holy Most High, the serpent represents how low they bow down in true humility before the Almighty Lord of the throne in their true and complete obedience to it. And as for the devil and its dupes, of men, jinn, and demon beasts, who act out evilly in hidden and open ways among man's kind, the serpent represents their sly and wicked ways in how they will lie in wait or creep upon the unsuspecting individuals and either wrap them up and crush them or inject in them their debilitating venoms, which comes in the form of their seductions and the evil results of them, which includes the devil's devouring of all that is good of them and leaving nothing of them worth anything more than waste in the sight of our Lord. The seraph Set, who had been the chief seraph, became known as Set the devil Satan, who seduced them into being disobedient and ignorant of the Lord. And because of ignorance, the community of Adam and Eve became of the many ill effects of the devil, which was full of woe. And for their foolish attempts at hiding from the Lord, they were stripped of their innocence, with the Lord giving them sight of themselves and the world about them in evil, causing them to see themselves in their states of nakedness, whereby they saw their imperfections and differences. Therefore, they ran about the garden, covering themselves with the materials from the trees of it, in hopes of being successful at concealing what was revealed to them by the devil. Verily, because of them trying to hide from the Lord El-Ah what they became capable of seeing by its will in power, concerning their newly gained knowledge of the devil and their nakedness, they became of the devil's dupes, who are blinded by evil, and further cursed to believe that they are not seen by the all-seeing Amen, Ain Ra. But the all-seeing and all-knowing Lord did see and know them in their nakedness, and yet, for its mercy, the Lord still pardoned them, although it declared that life would thenceforth be a great trial for them and their progeny, from that point in time until the ends of time for each of those who refuse to be obedient under the holy covenant of the first and remaining sets of laws that were and still are commanded to be by the Lord of the Almighty throne of judgment. And the Lord Most High then reminded them that it was the sufficient supplier of all their needs, and that it would be as such in its sufficiency, one in the same essential being which manifests all that is needed of its power to bring the absolute fulfillment of all needs for its creatures, given from its essence of being to them and each of their progeny. But it promised to be as such for those alone who proved to be obedient to its holy agreement, which is a covenant of its laws that are never changed by it, and its orders, which it manipulates in its signs of mercy to fit the conditions of every people in the changing of times and situations of their lives. The Lord spoke to Enoch, blessing he who was the son of Cain, the eldest son of Adam, that evilly murdered his brother Abel, the Lord's first blessed son of the true spirit of the true man, mind, that rules as the righteous El-Ah, over humanity that descends Adam. It raised Enoch up to the pure eternal light of its Christ being, opened for him its sights of being in the greater heights of the eternal mind, by which it gave him an actual experience in the darkness of its pure mystery, in granting him the greater of its holy, universal, and hidden knowledge concerning its almighty, all-powerful, all-wise, all-knowing, infinite, eternal, supreme, and ever-present being of its mind, which is alone real in the reality of its own self, and the reality in all of its creation, which exists in its eternal essence, breath, power, and glory, which comes in its motions that are given in life to all things. Verily, it enlightened Enoch through its christening him in its light and fire of truth, and heightened his knowledge by giving him experiences in the holy heights of the eternal and infinite darkness of its unfathomable realms, which encompasses the lights of all its creation, and by it giving him the experience of an even greater deepness of its uncreated being in the void of life, wherein it showed him a place of its no-thingness of being, so that he, Enoch, would know how to truly recognize the Lord's being, and the Lord's complete and sublime mercifulness to humanity, among all man's kind, in every level of life that Enoch was caused to exist in his awareness of truth. For in the Lord Elihu's choosing for him to exist, so blessed by it, the Lord showed the world of all man's kind, for all times, a great sign of its forgiveness, compassion, and its endless mercy through Enoch, who was blessed with the good of both worlds, despite Enoch being the son of Cain, who slew Abel and became the first evil murderers among man's kind. And in this sign, the Lord showed how good and evil exists on the same pole of life, but at opposite ends of each other, even in man's kind, by which, of its wisdom in showing this sign, is a lesson that is appropriate for all time, for all man's kind, showing how, when the Lord grants good for man's kind, the evil-doers of the fallen angels and their dupes among man's kind jump first to bring forth evil against it, and yet, despite what they do to interfere with the commandments of the Lord's holy covenants of truth, which are sent down as signs of mercy, the Lord shows its mercy, compassion, and its determination to lend life to those whom it intends. And the Lord gave another sign of its mercy and forgiveness to the house of Abraham among his wives, Sarah and Hagar, and their sons Isaac and Ishmael, and Isaac's wife Rebekah, and their sons Esau and Jacob, and to the 12 tribes that descended Jacob, and to the tribes that descended Ishmael in the deserts of Arabia. From Isaac came Esau and Jacob, after depriving his brother Esau of his birthright, by following their mother's advice about tricking their father Isaac, who had by then become blind, into giving his holy commanded blessings, which were meant for Esau to Jacob. Jacob fled to the house of his uncle Laban, where he worked for many years, and married Laban's daughters, Leah and Rachel, who, with their handmaidens, Zilpah and Bilhah, bore Jacob 12 sons, of whom became the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. Leah bore Issachar, Judah, Levi, Reuben, Simeon, and Zebulun. Rachel bore Joseph and Benjamin. Zilpah bore Gad and Asher, and Bilhah bore Dan and Naphtali. Of them Leah, the first wife, bore one most evil in Judah, while Rachel, the second wife, bore one most blessed in Joseph, through whom again the Lord manifested its signs of forgiveness and blessed the house of Abraham through the tribes of Israel. To Jacob the Lord spoke, and it sent down angels to try him in battles for his life, to prepare him in worthiness of being a holy servant of El, protected from the devil. By this the Lord proved Jacob to himself, and thenceforth blessed him to be true of it, and thus marking Jacob with the name and meaning of Israel, one who strives while seeing by the holy sight of the Lord El, or a righteous seeing soldier of the Lord El, blessing them by its forgiveness, and guiding many erring generations of their lineage, starting with Abraham and Sarah, regarding their mistreatments of Abraham's concubine and eldest son, evil which was issued by both of them against Hagar and Ishmael, for which the Lord tried Abraham, with the threat of him being called to slay his and Sarah's beloved son Isaac upon the altar of sacrifice, in order for Abraham to break through his wasteful concerns about Sarah and both of their erring mistreatment of his concubine wife, acts which the Lord disapproved concerning them, holding her in the lowly status of inequality, the same as has been practiced by many generations of people who have erred in this lowly held way of estimating the concubines of men since ancient times, and in this modern-day communities that hate what the Lord has approved in the holy covenants concerning righteous religious polygamy. Yes, the Lord approved of Hagar being a co-wife to Sarah, one of Abraham's divinely approved wives, and both of them, Abraham and his wife Sarah, were punished for their acts of injustice that was committed by them against Abraham's wife and son, Hagar and Ishmael, who, by them, were eventually put out on their own into the desert of Arabia, alone, until Abraham was blessed to see the light of El's truth, which shone upon his error and caused Abraham to seek the help and forgiveness of El. Wherefore the Lord heard and responded by forgiving him and causing him to overcome his love for Sarah, to return back to his recognition of El, whereby he again placed his mind and heart in the proper love for the Lord El, being reminded to keep his attachment to the Lord El higher in his love than any other attachment of his being to life's other things, and was blessed to set out to find Hagar and Ishmael in the Arabian desert, where they built the great house of the Lord in Mecca, the Kaaba, which became the great center of the Lord's sign of its holiness on earth, for those who descended Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael, until the coming of this new day and new holy center, which is assigned by the Lord El to the new holy chosen people of this holy raised messenger prophet of the Lord El-Aizah Allah. But still, to this day, signs of the anger, injustice, retribution, and the other ills that were manifested between Abraham and Sarah and Isaac among the Jews who mixed with and thus descend the Hebrews, and the descendants of Hagar and Ishmael, who became the Muslims of Northeast Africa and Southwest Arabia, among the descendants and representatives of those proclaiming to be of Muhammad, fight and kill one another by habit and disobedience to the Lord El, despite what they say on both sides. Surely the Lord gave both of them the Holy Torah and the Holy Quran from the great ever-living book of the Lord of the throne on high of heaven, with clear instructions which they, of both groups, have manipulated and or hide in their hiding the true clarity wisdom that was sent down for all people, hiding by keeping away true translations and hiding by giving false translations. Moses descended Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac among those born of the tribes, and the Lord spoke directly to Moses in the voice of its unseen being, which was marked by its manifested hidden presence, by its speaking in the voice that came in the presence of the legendary burning bush, with the Lord El saying to Moses, "I am that I am." And included in what it said was that it was as it ever is for all things, which was the one sufficient supplier of Moses and each of all his people's needs, as it still is. Muhammad descended Abraham, Hagar, Ishmael, and Muhammad's father's Hashemite tribe, which descended among the Quraysh tribe of black Saudi Arabians, and his mother, who was an African of Abyssinia, ancient name of Ethiopia. The Lord instructed the holy-spirited archangel messenger Gabriel to tell Muhammad to recite truth to his people concerning it being the real and the all-in-all of the power and the reality of life, which is hidden in and about all in the existent. What had been the existent, and all that is yet to be the existent things. In obedience to this, Muhammad said to his people, "Say and believe that Hu and Allah is one. Allah is the independent, eternal, and infinite being. It begets not, and it is not begotten of anything of creation. And there is none, no one and no other thing, like unto the one Allah." It clarified for him that it was, as it is, the same being of the reality of Hu, which spoke from its unseen position of being hidden in the presence of the renowned burning bush to Moses. And it said that it was, as it ever will be for all man's kind, the sufficient supplier of Muhammad and his people's needs. Surely, it is the same for you of this day, as it was in the beginning for Adam, as it was for Abel, as it was for Enoch, as it was for Abraham, as it was for Isaac and Ishmael, as it was for Moses and the tribes of Israel, who became the punished slaves of Hagar's people. Hagar, who was a slave of the Israelites' foremother Sarah, who unjustifiably punished Hagar, despite the Lord being enough as the sufficient supplier of their needs. El, who blessed both of them with the sons of their love and liking. And at last, as it was for Muhammad, the Lord El is the sufficient supplier of all needs for all people this day. We remind you of the blessings in mercy and forgiveness that the Lord Most High continuously gives man's kind, but we also remind you that its wrath is as well given to those of the cruel and disobedient people who would deceive the Lord and its holy raised messengers, such as it was of those who tricked themselves in trying to trick fate throughout the history of man's kind, like the devil tricked Eve, and Eve tricked Adam. And Cain sought to hide his killing of Abel by following the guidance of a bird that the Lord itself caused to show him how to bury his brother's corpse. Therefore Cain sought to trick his parents and the all-knowing Lord. And the people of Enoch and those of the world descending them has tried to trick the world about him. And this trickery has gone on among them and their descendants, like Sarah tricking Abraham into discontent for Hagar and their son. After the Lord, El blessed her with a conceived biological son of her own, with her false shows of love for their son Ishmael. Surely this has gone on in line with them throughout, such as how Jacob and his mother Rebekah tricked his father Isaac out of Esau's rightful inheritance, and how Rebekah's brother, Jacob's uncle Laban, tricked Jacob into 7 years of labor on his land before he tricked him into marrying his daughter Leah, and then tricked him again into a succession of 7 more years of labor in order for him to marry Rachel, his uncle's daughter, whom he really loved. And then came Judah, the son of Jacob, Israel, and Leah, who tricked his father into trusting him with taking care of his younger brother Joseph. One whom he despised, he then again sought to trick his father Jacob, who knew his evil by the signs of the Lord El that were given to him, after he tricked 9 of his other brothers into supporting his evil schemes, by putting Joseph at a loss, trapping him in a well, and then seeking to cause Jacob to believe that Joseph was killed by a beast of the land. And even in this diabolic trickery, which was put against 2 of the Lord El's favored servants, Jacob as Israel and his son Joseph, again El showed its great sign of mercy and compassion to the house of Israel, by giving its blessings to them right through the very hands of Joseph, the one that they sought for their father to forget and be done with. The Lord delivered them despite their evil and established the 12 tribes of Israel, which gave birth to Adolf Hitler, one of their own that encompassed the most evilest of trickery against their whole nation of people, and one who sought most to have his entire race of people completely annihilated merely because of the evil in his mind and heart, which produced his desire to purge the world of those among man's kind whom he believed and tricked others of the ignorant and most evil people of the Aryan race into believing, following the belief that they were not worthy as a people to live in this world. Now there are these 2 races of one people, brethrens among the Semitic Jews and Arabs, who have fell from the holy grace of the Lord El, and yet, while they are aware of certain ones among the present Afro-Americans being the Lord's choice for this day, they are aggressively and most foolishly denying the Lord its will for the new holy chosen people by denying the Afro-Americans their holy, given birthright from heaven, like Jacob and Rebekah did to Esau when they believed that their plan was better than the all-wise Lord El's plan, and thus was allowed by the Lord El to succeed in going against Isaac and the Lord's commands by denying Esau. They with the sons and daughters among the Antichrist of Gog and Magog, from Europe, America, and the world of the Catholics and politicians of all races, who have joined the Antichrist institution and with them are attempting to trick the world into believing that these people who are given the Lord's Book of Covenants in these times of the ancient are still, in this day, the chosen people of the Lord El, when, clearly, they are not. Verily, as the fulfiller of all needs, Aiza, the Lord Elamen is enough, and much more than enough, infinitely sufficient and eternal, creating all needs and fulfilling all needs for all created things, alone, by the nourishments of its holy and universal breath and essence that is made known through the vibratory motions of its holy and universally hidden, all-powerful and uncreated being. Verily, it is the one true need of everything.
From the highest of the high to the lowest of the low, all that is in between, you are the glory of it all. Being the all in all without strife, being the question, the answer, and the meaning of life. One of the world's problems today is that man forgot how to play the game of life that was introduced to Adam and Eve in the first day of the human family being given life to be on earth in the flesh of humanity.